Why live in the shrubbery when you could have a throne? Du, 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 du. Fire couldn't burn. These are the things that I never will learn. These are the things I never will learn. Okay. Chapter 5. Your eyes had been closed. These people are looking at anatomy and stuff. Anatomy, biology, alchemy or something? I love her dress and design though. He's like, yeah, and we'll have all of this stuff, and then there's a cave? Is that them? That's Dirk. Yeah, look at his puffy pants. Then Rosebud's like, I'm done with this. This is like the Pantheon where they get the game, maybe? Huh. Then she's just wandering around this planet. Whose planet is this again? She sees... Whoa! What's that? Those must be Terezi's. The dissonant hum of struggling mechanics fills Terezi's ears as she sits, cross-legged on the now ruined engine room. She likes it here, the soft white noise ringing of the extensive ventilation network sounds. If she closes her nose just right, like the rustle of the wind through the leaves of a tree hive, universes away. The warm thrumming of machines at work is accompanied by blinking lights that taste like rainbow sprinkles as they flicker, but Teresi isn't distracted from the main object of her focus. The unconscious body of Rose Lalonde, bathed in dim light, chest rising and falling in an artificially induced slumber. What? Wait, so her body is comatose or something? Wires and tubes run up from her plinth to the ceiling of the chamber, keeping her alive, yes, but too much for that purpose. Something about the tangle of intravenous tubing and fiber optic cables makes Teresi think of the old stories about the psionic. Her train of thought is interrupted by metallic footfalls and the screeching sound of a broken airlock sliding open. There you are. I haven't seen much of you. I've been right here for hours, but your eyes have been closed the whole time. Rosebud turns her head to look at the frail, failing vessel that once housed her consciousness. She doesn't even dispatch a fake laugh to behavior display matrix in pity of the half-joke. Your attachment to my comatose body is unexpectedly charming, as well as slightly sinister. She isn't going to do anything. She isn't going to come back where She isn't coming back from where she's gone. You never know. Yes, I suppose that's true. Anything can happen. You can't see the future, etc., etc. Except I can. I can see the trajectory the story needs to take, and thus I know the trajectory it will take. And resurrecting my meat puppet will not only be difficult to the point of being worthless, it would also be extremely lame. Not that it would be out of character for the story. We live and breathe on the stupefyingly mind-numbing and the mind-numbingly stupid. But then we veered towards dissolution yet again. If what you're saying is true, if a story has to be compelling to be canon, do you really think Dirk is this type to tell a compelling story? His taste in anime alone is concerning. I did enjoy the one about the horses, though. Is this MLP? I don't think that counts as anime. But that's why we're here, isn't it? To steer the story the right way? I guess. But you're not enthusiastic. Sigh. Playing with a whole world like it's some kind of Squeaky Loose's toy dog sounds like it has its moments. I mean, my friends wanted to rule your little world as petty tyrants after we won the game ourselves. But do you think that would have been for the best of you and all the other mammalian weirdos on your planet? It didn't happen because it didn't happen. If I have to hear one more tautology from either of you, I'm going to move to the woods and plague your new society as a hermit bog monster forever. See, that's the spirit. Become as myth, Terezi Pyro, the troll under the bridge you were always meant to be. The village chalk supplies would be ravaged. Townsfolk would tell the children scary stories of the terrible dragon hiding in the woods. If they're not good, she might emerge from the swamp and moralize at them. Well, if you're eating cereal in the car, make sure you don't spill it and make everything, sticky. That'd be hard to clean. Just because you've elected to abandon the concepts of good and bad entirely doesn't mean I don't still have moral reservations. But this isn't about that. I'm talking about the basic ability of intelligent beings in all real and hypothetical planes of existence to give a shit. I don't give a shit, And honestly, I have a hard time understanding why you do. Where did this come from? You didn't do much world building when you fucked off for eons and let chess people build your planet. That approach failed. Without an organized antagonistic force, the planet became fundamentally unsuited to relevance. Its dissolution was inevitable, and our fellow victors couldn't or wouldn't see. We only know of one way to perpetuate canon for sure, to play and defeat the game and continue the life cycle of the Genesis frog we cling to parasitically. Excuse me. Just had to drink some water. This, obviously, has destructive consequences. Once we spared the Earth by coming here and starting from a blank slate, now it is protected in the steady hands of a duly elected ruler, surely to have a boring and uneventful perpetual term in office. Blah, blah, blah. So you feel bad about how much you guys were in big teen failures and want another flip of the coin. No, I don't feel bad. I don't need to bargain with the past or question it. Everything that happened brought us here. An imperfect mechanism, to be sure. Resting in points, barely functional in others, occasionally relying on the labor of strange clowns. As the sheer number of doomed universes our actions in the game spun off should show, we barely understood the design at this game. We barely understood the design at this time. Truly, we stumbled through the tape of the finish line, ass first, cheating all the way. But there was no table of judges waiting to educate our performance by holding up little placards with numbers on them. We are the observers, and we are the judges. We won, and to the victor go the spoils. If you want a hand in making the rules of this new world, then go. Don't go storm off. You're trying to lead me to accept your moral framework. What if no one should control our universe? All we fought against was monsters who converted power into control. Not everything we lost fighting them was a mistake. There was a lot sacrificed for the idea of good. What's the point in continuing the story if that was meaningless? If Lord English was just holding up the world, if it takes acting like him to keep it alive, wouldn't it be better to just let it die? Ah, I see. Spudden Cup. Huh. Well, we're reading Homestuck 2, Chapter 5? Chapter 5? Chapter 5. Okay, where are we? Okay, Rosebud looks over at the plinth where her body sits. Kept alive, sure, but atrophied and weak, dependent on this machine to continue projecting consciousness to the abiotic enclosure, keeping the realization of the ultimate self from tearing her apart. Well, wouldn't it be better just to let it die? Trezzy isn't asking new questions. Rose had first threatened suicide when she was 8. Oh. She couldn't bear the thought of attending the funeral her mother was organizing for her beloved cat Jasper's. When she was 10, she put on her coat and stood in whipping winter winds on the balcony overlooking a frozen waterfall, imagining the plunge with a blank expression on her face, eyes stinging from the New York cold? New York? Her mother had drunk herself to sleep with a vacuum on, again, the mechanical wailing inside playing a chord with the gale outside, inescapable, but her first and only real attempt was a success. All these thoughts crossed her mind made in a microcycle. Explaining things to someone not aided by the exponential increase in processing power Rosebud has is tedious. Teresa's hesitation won't be swayed by explaining more of the universe. There's another source at work. Not to be indelicate, Teresa, but I've wondered something. Yeah, it would be completely unlike you to be indelicate. I'm being serious. You said it yourself, that you don't give a shit. This melancholy, this meaninglessness you're feeling, I think there's another explanation for it. One having little to do with the structural soundness of our plan. I think there's a psychological explanation at work here. Of course you do. You think there's a psychological explanation for everything. And it all has to do with mothers and repression. Your mother was an egg. I recognize there are limitations at play here to the human experience. But I don't think it requires a great deal of insight, even though I do. In fact, have a great deal of insight to realize that you are fucking depressed. Oh, thank you, Dr. Science. Let me take out my human checkbook to pay you for these invaluable human insights. Discovering that there is a problem is the only way to solve it. This constant insistence that everything is as it ought to be isn't counterproductive. It's pathetic. From one seer to another, we both know how bad you've gotten in the past. Or if not in the past, in some past. I have no desire to meet that Terezi, no matter how doubtlessly sticky and charming she might be. Not every bad feeling is a syndrome, and just because I do things differently than you doesn't mean my brain is broken. That's not what depression is. Oh my god, I don't care. Stop trying to get through to me, or whatever else you think is happening here. We aren't friends. Go ahead and do your arts and crafts project with your people's lives. Shockingly, Terezi, I'm not asking you for your permission or your blessing. I need neither. I was offering a reprieve from the monotony of the last 3 years and what promises to be a long stretch of time going forward. Your life isn't going to be short compared to mine and Dirk's, but that doesn't mean it has to be boring. The two of you really are made for each other. I am made from him. That's how families work. Is that why you left Kanaya behind? Because you know so fucking much about family? I'd be careful if I were you. The weight of what I know and what you do not is enough to overwhelm a mortal frame. Shut up. Stop pulling this mystical bullshit every time. Don't you miss her? Don't you? Your constant deflection is as pointless as it is What? Your constant deflection is as pointless as it is ineffective. My feelings are irrelevant. There's nothing to mourn if it all dissolves, not even the capacity for grief. If the cycle of canon must continue, then it must. Some don't understand that. You do. I did. Is this what canon means, though? Garish orange and purple gods acting out the same story again and again? Another journey, another planet, another game. I grew up thinking I had to throw away everyone and go jet off to space. It wasn't for good or evil. It was easy to justify it as just what must happen. It was essential. But was it relevant and true? Isn't the same and you know it. We see things the way they are. We are obliged to act to save the concept of meaning itself by continuing to spin the narrative loom into new tapestries. Sigh. Again. I used to enjoy talking to you, when I thought this was just what you wanted. That Kanaya just couldn't understand that we had to do this, but now I can't tell. Did you want all this, or did the prince? Abruptly, Terezi is lifted from the ground with a glidingly smooth, effortless motion. Metal is so much stronger than flesh. She flashes a sharp-toothed grin as her feet dangle uselessly in front of the lithe, metallic form of her counterpart Seer. Inspiring a reaction like this from Rose's robotic placidity has been like squeezing blood from a stone of this years-long journey. Delicious, candy red blood. I have complete recall of every sensation my body experienced. I can simulate and have simulated cherished and tragic memories in their entirety. They flood my circuits with feeling, more real than flesh ever could be, a direct contact between my mind and memory. Is that what you want to hear, Terezi? That I can replay the complete sensory experience of my first kiss 100 times in a single clock cycle? Do you want me to rend my garments and wail at the tragedy of it all? Play victim, damsel in distress, leak lubricant from the joints of my eyes to simulate the tears I can no longer shed? I know what I have lost. I've taken full account of it. I cannot and will not forget it. But to cling to it as if fated to nothing would be meaningless capitulation to entropy. Someone must sit atop Olympus and propagate the fabric of reality upon which these memories sit. That is the task we have taken on. The game does not feel. The game does not mourn. The game must be played, and we must guide those who play it better than we ourselves were guided. This is deep. She's just freaking out. Just as I have remembered the good, I can recall the terror that consumed me and overwhelmed my body. The visions of dissolution, the narrative unspooling, 1,000 voices shouting contradiction. What value is a marriage, temporary domestic bliss, if all of it's lost? You understand this bargain. At least you should. It's one that was made to leave you alone. Is it your resentment towards my choice about Kanaya, or about Vriska? Bonk. Rosebot's even metallic voice is interrupted by the bang of skull against metal, and Terezi's headbutt collapses the both into a crumpling heap of metal and flesh. That was a step too far. Tensions that once simmered under the surface have found the catalyst for a boil. Terezi and Rosebot's repartee of words is replaced by the distant notes of clanging and smashing as they roll around the floor of the crashed Theseus Central chambers, throwing punches and smashing into control panels in the crescendo of chaos. This is more than a sufficient distraction for the melancholy Terezi was sinking into. Her senses are alight. The whir of servos and actuators are a dusting of snow in her hearing, undercutting the percussion of the rolling wrestling match. The orange cloth she's ripping and scuffing suffuses every breath she inhales with the sweetly acidic taste of grapefruit and tangerine. She manages anger pouring from the glassy red eyes as they roll over one last time. Rosebot finally has Terezi pinned down to the ground by the throat. A cool metallic knee is pressed hard between her legs, holding her down. A natural pause in the staccato squabble is found, and the two pairs of red eyes are locked on each other. Tracy's breath rises and falls deeply. The robot's intricately crafted torso does not simulate breath, but the soft, susurrus purr of cooling fans betrays the tension. Terezi spits out a few raspy words, gleefully. I take it back. Turns out I still enjoy talking to you. A simulated smirk is summoned on being the robot's face. Voice file plays in high fidelity. Back to our usual stimulating dialogue, it seems. Rosebot leans in close. Terezi can smell the licorice black lipstick. Whoa, hey, what is going on? The same kind as always, applied now to synthetic polymer lips inches away from her own. Rosebot's metal fingers close just a little tighter around her neck. Whoa. Bonk. Wait, hold on. Homestuck. Okay. Whoa. I fiddle with some advanced speciation machinery for a few hours and then come back to this? This is the problem with lesser actors. Leave them alone for too long and they get all touchy and start talking about feelings. We're passing the Bechdel test and advancing. None of the plot. What? There are hardly any panels. That's not my Homestuck. You people are here for logic, systems, weird plot shit, lore. Not this. Excuse. That was kind of entertaining, though. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that fourth wall break a little too much? Did you disbelief until now? So utterly delinquent and prone to vagrants that it's been suspended indefinitely? Finally collapse? Go ahead and close the fucking book then. Quit out of your browser, slam the laptop close, and punt it into the ocean. That shark is probably hungry after all the jumping. You won't, though. If you were going to quit, you'd have quit before this. We're in this for the long haul. We'll all go down together. Welcome to... Oh. What? Why do you joke about that? Why do you joke about Vietnam? Anyway, where was I? Oh, right. Passing judgment on my robotic ectodaughter smashing the damn shipping grid to pieces. Really, Rose? Really, our task of phenomenal cosmic importance isn't going to wait for a dalliance. I've just mastered fine-tuning... What? Perissodactyl hooves with this machine. I need my co-monarch back. Plus, what would dear sweet Kanaya think? Oh my god, shut up and give me some privacy, nerd. Oh, they're hate smooching? By the way, fine, be that way. I'll just get a head start on my species then. It's the only fate of a new planet on which the weight of saving the universe lies. If voiding the warranty on a complex piece of machinery is more important to you than all of that, go ahead. I've got better things to do. I actually almost cried when I was reading Rose's text here. It's just, wow. Homestuck. Yes, my favorite webcomic. He has a sweet Rowan Halajack tattoo. Hell yeah. His design is nice, but is he... I don't know. They're protagonists and also the villain in some regard. At least considering the epilogues. You know? 20 minutes. 20 minutes of reading. Nice. My choice about Kanaya or about Vriska? This can only be about Vriska. There's no other person that's Vriska unless they're talking about Vrissy. But Vrissy exists elsewhere. You know? Dirk Strider is now streaming Spore. Is this a roleplay YouTube channel or what? Yeah. Little Seb and Dirkbot. What do you mean? They're all the pointy anime glasses. I'm pretty sure they all have that. Anyway, who's excited for Roxy Pester Quest? Roxy Pester Quest. Roxy Pester Quest, and I need to search up. No, someone's gotta do this now. Someone has to make a Dirk Strider YouTube character YouTube, and then he just plays Spore in accordance with Homestuck squared. That would be cool. I'm scared for Dirk Pester Quest. I'll have you know. I'm scared. Like, what if we see the epilogues of Homestuck squared, like, intersect with Pester Quest? Because my theory is that on April 1st, when this all goes down, when Dirk Pester Quest comes out, there will be a direct correlation with Homestuck 2, and Emma's Paint Reader will be like the descendant of either or. Yeah, I would scream too. Because where else would Emma's Paint Reader get these powers? What did they do? What happened? Like, Andrew Hussey's gotta write in a little loop there, somewhere. He can't even finish the story, but he can sure put a lot of time fuckery. Mark my words, Emma's Paint Reader is a biological descendant of Dirk Strider. I mean, that would be wild, but it would make sense as to why they have similar powers, you know? And he'd just, like, rock it off with the game and ruin their thing. Where does MS Paint get a rocket? MS Paint Reader get a rocket? Where does MS Paint Reader get this heart/blood-like powers? And how exactly did MS Paint Reader steal them? That would be interesting. Well, anyway, that was interesting. Too far-fetched, you say? Well, at least there's this also this theory going around that they're like at least ecto-descendant of Prospicians or Carapacians in general because of their vaguely humanoid-friendly appearance, you know? I mean, it won't be as far-fetched if they use ectobiology to combine whatever, and you see the squid cactus succulent. But yeah, I think I'll end it off here. I'll wait for the next update.